Good afternoon, everyone. This is Robin Carter. I'm out of Flower Mound, Texas. I'm here today to share with you, I think this is my third video with the August 2022 paper pumpkin kit named Sweet Sunflowers by Stampin' Up. So I know this has been a very popular kit and everyone loves it, saying how beautiful it is. Unfortunately, there will be no refills for this kit because it was so popular, it's sold out. So I've been trying to stretch this kit as much as possible. So if you missed my first two videos, click on my channel and you will find those alternatives that I made with this card set and this card set. If you are new to my channel, I would really appreciate your subscription. And to those of you who have already subscribed, thank you so much for subscribing. And hopefully you're finding this video to give you some inspiration. So today I'm going to be working on this card and an envelope. So let's get started with our alternates. So I'm going to start with this card kit. So pretty much as intended, I made this card, except I did put the whole thing up on dimensionals. I don't think the instructions tell you to do that. So I did that. I also added some bees. And I shared a tip in my previous video of how I color these bees. So if you missed that, check that out. And then I put a sunflower down here. And again, I'm getting away from putting sentiments on my card and prefer just to write on the inside what the card is for. So I think the sunflower adds a bit of detail to it as well with the leaves. And I think it stands alone on its own without a sentiment. But if you prefer sentiments, go ahead and put one. You could even include the sunflower and maybe put your sentiment up here, or exclude the sunflower and put the sentiment like they have suggested here. But I want to share my alternate with you. It's not a great big alternate. So I really liked how the Blackberry Bliss piece looked on this kit. So I already did a few steps ahead just to save on time, but this is, that's upside down. This is the whole card front. So what I did is I took my stitched rectangle dies, and I've done this quite a few times with kits that have a nice, beautiful full front. I just cut out a little bit to add a little detail and or to put some part of it on dimensionals. So I thought I would see how that looked with this kit. I really like how the Blackberry Bliss panel underneath makes that whole flower image pop. It gives great contrast. So let me show you what else I thought. And then I was indecisive of whether or not to include, when I pop this up, do I just pop it up on its own? And I keep a few dimensionals here that are just partial so that I can kind of see what it looks like. And I think that gives a pretty interesting look. And then I cut a crushed curry piece that I thought I would see how that does on its own with that. And I've asked some of my one of my local, she's actually my downline now, of which one she likes. She actually says it doesn't need the cutout at all. Which it doesn't. It's beautiful as it is. But I wanted to make an alternate, so I'm going to do it this way. So I cut this with the 1, 2, 3, 4, I guess the fourth smallest, because it's the one missing over in my die cut machine. And so I did that just by grabbing them and seeing which one fits within the flowers and doesn't go outside to the honeycomb part. So I've already glued the honeycomb piece straight down onto the Blackberry Bliss, and I'm just going to add this to the crushed curry. So which one of those did you like? I thought the crushed curry kind of brings out more of the yellow in the flower. And then I did just cut the layer about 1/8 of an inch bigger. I guess I can measure that for you, I have 2 rulers. So this layer looks to be 2 5/8 by 3 and 8, 9, 10, 11/16. So very detailed. Those rectangle dies seem to be a very odd size. So that's what I did. I'm going to put this on dimensionals. Here's my big dimensionals that I cut in half. I think I'll do 2 more. Okay, I think that's all of them. Just give them a little touch to see if they're sticky. And then I'm going to try to get my head, not in the camera, but get over it as much as possible to center it. So what do you think? So this is the original, except all of it's popped up on dimensionals. One thing I didn't like is since I could only put dimensionals here, this part almost doesn't look like it's popped up, but it is. All right, and then let me get my little kit goods. I think I already have some sunflowers colored and leaves. Well, I guess I already have that one on a card. I saved one. I still have one more to do. Here's my sunflower. And I wondered about the crushed curry, but I didn't think there was enough contrast. It kind of didn't make the flowers pop like the Blackberry Bliss color did. So I think my next one I'll do Blackberry Bliss again. And then I'm going to put this sunflower I've already colored, which I shared with you in my first video, how I colored them. So if you missed that, check that out. And I think I am going to add the sunflower here. This one's a little lighter than this one. I don't think it makes that much difference, so I'm going to go ahead with this flower. So this is my Tombow multi-purpose glue that I put in a fine tip glue pen. And I'm just going to hang these off the end. Make sure they still look good while they're wet. They do. And then since this is already popped up, I'm just going to glue the sunflower flat on there as well. It makes it stick up off. And I've curled the petals just a little bit with a bone folder so they curl up. This one I did not. You can see it lays more flat. Oops. The glue is not dry, so that moved around. All right, so here is my alternate. There, I guess that's the best. Get this out of the way of the view. For this card. So not much changes, so you can make 3 any way you like. All right, let's put these away and get on to the envelope. So the envelope always gives me the most challenge because you're limited where the score lines are. And I love this envelope and I love the leaf. So I have a little bit of a tip to share with you on the envelope to help smooth it out. So this Stamp Pierce Mat helps. Gives a little cushion. And then I flip it over and I take my bone folder more with the rounded edge so I don't make another score line. And I just gently press this the other way. The other thing you can do is with your pick tool, on one end it has or not one end, but one different adapter that comes with it is a stylus. So I'm going to get my one that's not taped to show a difference. And I'm going to take the biggest stylus end and gently just kind of rub on that score line. And again, I flipped it over, so I'm pressing it back flat. This helps a little bit. Okay, so just a little. But let me get my my paper trimmer, and I'll show you how I trim this. Got a little bit of cardstock from my previous cut on it. Okay, I'm going to zoom out just a little bit so you can see more of the trimmer. I'll try to do all my cutting here at the top. So let me show you the alternatives first. So with one envelope, we're going to make this card. And then with another part of the envelope, we are going to make this card. So I am going to switch up the colors a little bit just to see how they look a different way. But so what I did is I just barely take just a minimum sliver off each side of the envelope. You can see that's very tiny. And I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. Okay, so just a hair. Well, now it's stuck in my track, but I'll get it out. It was so little it fit down in the track. So that allows you to open up your envelope. Now, for these two alternates, I did cut right here. I'm sorry, my voice is still have a little bit of congestion from the COVID, but it's getting better, a little better every day. So I want to trim this, and if you don't have a real sharp blade, you'll need to trim just a hair on the inside of the score line. I'm going to kind of see how mine does. Yeah, it frayed it, but you know what? You can kind of pull that off, and if you have a sand block, you can sand that. I have this mono eraser, which will sand the little feathers off, or you can also take your paper snips and just go along and trim the fuzz. Okay, so then, now I haven't done anything with this yet, so I think a good suggestion that a way to use this is to trace your labels on it, because it gives that same texture and pattern that a lot of the labels that come in the kit with. Okay, so then I'm going to measure this, and I'm going to add 1 inch to whatever, because I'm sticking it off 1 inch. So that's like 5.5. So this is about 6.5. So then I'm going to cut that in half again, which is 3.25. So you can choose which way. I'm going to do this on the flat side. So that's at 3.25. I don't know if you can see that. So your longest bars are your inch marks. The next is your half, and then the next set is your quarters. And then below that, your eighth, and then your 16ths. I'm going to cut this at 3.25. And so we have our two pieces, but they are a little taller than a card. So this card base around it, I tend to do 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. So I want to make this piece be 1/8 of an inch smaller than that. And I still have some fuzz. So I'm going to use, I want to trim this side, so I'm going to use the bottom to line it up. And I may have to trim well, my score marks aren't there, so I'm going to have to use that side. Let me try to get the fuzz off some more. Okay. Actually, my whole blade may be getting dull. Maybe time to get a new one out. So I want this to be, if that's 3/8, which is here, I probably want this to be a quarter, excuse me. So you can decide whether you want to cut off this little flower or cut off more of the green. I decided to cut off more of the green. Okay, so that's going to be my piece for that card. And then this is my piece for this card. So I think we're done cutting. I think I've already pre-cut everything else. So let's start with this one. So this one is actually Gorgeous Grape. I don't think that was a coordinating color listed on the sheet. Let me look at that and see. Fiber Bliss. It is not listed, but I think that is a perfect color to coordinate with the flowers over here. So that's why I pulled out Gorgeous Grape. And then, so you get the components for that kit. So this time I thought I would use Poppy Parade to kind of bring out the poppy flowers rather than the grape flowers. And this time I switched it up and embossed this piece with the Time Worn 3D embossing folder. This one I did with the uh, painted texture die 3D. But I like to change things up in case you like one better than the other, or maybe don't have them all and have one. I have my card base. It feels like that's a little bit longer. So I'm going to adhere this straight on with my Tombow glue. And again, this is 4 1/8 by 5 3/8, which leaves just a little bit of a white border. And now before we glue this on, since this is textured, I'm going to stamp my bees again and color them, and also get out the little flower piece that came in our kit. So we have 3 of these flowers, and I wanted to use them, and I thought it really added some detail to this part of the card. So I thought I would put that there, and let me find my bee stamp. And with Memento black ink, you can really see the fuzz, can't you? Sorry about this. I'm going to get out a new blade next time I go to cut. Because that, I don't think, was on the score line. Maybe it was. Okay, and I'm going to put that on dimensionals, but I'm just laying it there where I can see how I want my bees. I think I'm going to follow the same path, except maybe put one around there. I really like this bee. I think they're cute. Here in the air, and then one. It looks like it's kind of landed on a flower. I'm going to put him more here. Okay, so I'm happy with that. I'm going to clean my stamp. This is my nasty paper towel that I get wet to keep my mats wet in this hot summer weather here in Texas. Okay, and then I'm going to color these. So I have, you could use a blender pen with the ink that you received, but I have the markers, so I'm just going to go along and color those. So I did with the crushed curry, and now the soft suede. And then for the wings, I just take my black watercolor pencil and just lightly, hardly any pressure at all, just kind of make them gray looking, kind of like they're fluttering, I guess. Okay, so there's our bees. And then we need our label. So again, I traced a lot of these labels to make my own. So I want to add some color to this. So let me see. Since we're using Poppy Parade, I may change up my colors. And since that's kind of a purple, I may use Poppy Parade in yellow. Let's see how that looks. If not, I have plenty more that we can recolor if I don't like that. So I like experimenting here on my alternates. So this is a laminated sheet that I use for my blending brushes. Don't really need that. And it just helps keep the ink wet. So I'm going to use my Poppy Parade. Let me get out that spot. In case you're interested, I keep all my spots in these old clamshell cases that came when we used to have the old woodblock stamps. So I've been around a little while. And why am I not finding my Poppy Parade? Well, I'll get out my big one. So I couldn't find my spot. It could be in here somewhere. Oh, it is. It's already out in my little stack I have out of what I've used. So I'm going to clean this spot so I don't get green in it. So I just use some water, and I'll use my paper towel. This is a well-loved paper towel here as well to wipe it dry. Okay, so I think you've all seen that I keep a blending brush with each kind of color family. So I want my yellow and my red. So I'm going to put Poppy Parade. Whoops. Almost got that all over my shirt. So I'm going to put some Poppy Parade there. And just to make sure I have enough out, I'm going to put some crushed curry here. Okay, I'm going to start with my lighter brush, or lighter color. And I start by picking up the ink, and then I kind of go off, and then I just swirl it on. Oh, that one's really dark. I may redo that. Let's see. All right, so let's start with the Poppy. So I'm going to start more off this time before I come on. So there's that one. I'm going to get another label that I have. Have a whole little pouch of them. And try to get the crushed curry a little lighter. So I'm going to go with what's on my ink pad, or what's on my brush, and this part rather than that part. And just get, I hope I'm not shaking my table. I try to be mindful of that, but it's hard to remember. And then go here. You know, that actually looks kind of pink rather than Poppy Parade. Interesting. Okay, I'm happier with that one than that one. So we're going to use that one. Let me set this somewhere where I won't get ink everywhere. Which is a scrap piece of paper. And so here's our card that we're going to be copying. And I set it over here, didn't I? Okay, so here's our Poppy Parade card that we made. And for this sentiment, I got out, I believe it was this one from the Pick of the Crop that was just a paper pumpkin kit a while back. So I have it on a block already. And I still did it in a green color. I thought it still brought that out. So I'm going to use my Mossy Meadow pad. Thinking of you. And I'm going to do it down just a little bit. It's a little crooked, but I'm okay with that. And then I found a little sprig stamp. You could use this, I guess, but I wanted something smaller. So I went looking through my paper pumpkin sets, since this is a paper pumpkin video, and I found this little sprig in the Expressions in Ink color, stamp set. So I used it. So I think I put him up already. So to all my paper pumpkin subscribers, they receive this sleeve to keep their stamps in, because we keep them and use them for alternate ideas like this. So here's the little sprig stamp, and I'm going to do it in Mossy Meadow as well. And I'm just going to put him up here at the top. I thought that just adds a little cute something to the label. Clean that off. Okay. I'm going to put this back up just so I don't lose it. Okay, that's all our stamping. Here's my label that was a little too dark. All right, so now I can adhere this to the Poppy Parade. You know, I did something I didn't want to do. I was going to tie the ribbon all the way around. That was an ad I did just before this video. I thought it needed a little something there. I guess I'll show you how I did that when I forgot. Okay, so just kind of smooth the liquid around so it's not in one blob, especially with the envelope paper, because the envelope paper is very thin. Now, I have that ribbon somewhere. This is actually on the clearance rack at a very good price. I picked it up a while back and have it somewhere. Well, we may have to add that later, or I may come up with something else. If you don't have the ribbon, you could always just do a thin strip of cardstock. So maybe I will do that. And then for this flower that was part of our kit, I wanted to put it up on dimensionals. So this is a good reason to cut your dimensionals in half. It's because these petals are pretty little and it's a very dainty flower. So be very careful when you take it off your die cut, because you can see how thin that is. It could tear very easily. So be gentle when you're getting that out of your die cut piece. Okay, and then I think I even cut one in half again for these smaller petals. I should have done that with my pick. I should do that with my take your pick tool because I can get it more centered that way so it doesn't hang off the edge. There, and I may do one right there as well. Let's cut another one in half. Okay, I'm going to take off my backings, being very careful not to tear my flower. Okay, and I put him coming right into the scene about there. Okay, so that's a way to use that piece that I haven't used yet. So you can make 3 like this in whichever color you like best. And now I think I'm looking for my ribbon. I've lost the label. There, oh, it's sitting right on the card. All right, so what do you think about that? The little kind of pink, and this one has kind of a purple tint. I think I like that. It brings out the Poppy Parade. All right, so I'm going to put some dimensionals on here. And I'm going to look for my ribbon one more second. Here it is. Okay, I found it. So here's what I do when I forget to tie it around the side. I get out the glue dots. I know a lot of you don't like the glue dots, but they have a good purpose. You switch back out to my pointed tip. So I find glue dots. Here's some. Have some things stuck around them. So I'm just going to put them down the side. Here's what I did to add this ribbon after the fact. I do about 5. So halfway, end to end, and then halfway and in between. So let me take off the backings. Okay, and this ribbon is pretty thin, so my glue dot is going to be a little wide. So you could use your take your pick tool with this, but I have good fingernails. So I'm just going to squish in the sides so that it's not quite so wide. And by the way, I found that liquid glue does not work well with ribbon, so I try to use glue dots for that. So then I'm just going to take this here. I'm going to line it up on my glue dot. And if it's still too wide, you can go back after you add the ribbon and squish it in some more. Okay. And then I'm just going to trim it like that. So that's how I add it when I forget to not adhere this to the card base first so I can wrap it around. I just do it like that. And then I'm going to take, I'll go ahead and just put that on and show you how I do the other part. So you could take a whole piece of ribbon and just put it beneath, but I like to be frugal with my ribbon, so I just make little snips in it and get another glue dot. Now I have glue dot pieces all over. Let me get those out of the way here to the side. So get your glue dot again and put it on one end. Oops. And it sticks. And I wanted this a little frayed, so I'm going to just take my fingernails and open up the ends a little bit, and then you stick it under your label. And then my other little piece, do the same thing. I did these extra little. I guess I didn't have to be quite so frugal. Did the other ones a little longer. And I want this end frayed. So I'm going to fray it before I take off the backing this time. And then I'm going to stick this underneath this side. I don't think I took off that backing. Okay. So there you have my next alternative. I can see it really brings out different flowers. This one, when you look at it alone, it really shows these flowers. And when you do this one, it really brings out these flowers. So you can do whichever ones you like, or make one of each like I have done for the different feeling. All right, so that's using the other part of this envelope that we cut open. So now we're going to make this one. And here's the card I made with it. So I have a label that I traced and cut, and I wanted this one to just be green. So I'm going to get back out my laminated mat and try to be careful and just get on one side. So I want my Mossy Meadow ink spot and my green blending brush. All right, so I'm going to pick up some ink, take it off a little bit, and then go very lightly at first. This is going to be hard. I'll do one side then the other because I can't. Oh, and I probably shook my table, didn't I? I'll go slower so I hopefully don't shake the camera. It's attached to my table. Okay, we're going to see, do I like it? I'm going to go this one lighter. I like that look. The other one I did quite dark. Okay, and then, again, I used my other stamp sets. Let me get these out of the way. And this one, I believe, is from the Beyond the Horizon. I will always be here for you. I like that saying. Here's the happiness. Tried to leave them all on my blocks. Oh, it's on this big block. All right, and I'm going to use Evening Evergreen just so it stands out really well. Okay, I will always be here for you in Evening Evergreen. Again, if this is your first kit, there's nothing wrong with the sentiment that comes wishing you so much happiness. And I just find it, I like that these actually fit this label quite well. Clean that off. Okay, now the part you've probably been waiting for. So I'm going to switch these colors around rather than the Poppy Parade, because there's only these few poppies that you can see. I'm going to try to do the Gorgeous Grape. So how I did this yesterday was I lined this up, and it's not going to be quite big enough, I don't think. Just barely. Oh, I do need to trim this down. That's what's wrong. I didn't trim this down just a hair to be 5 1/4. So since this has a scallop on it, look, you'll want to take a little off each side. So I can do it up here first. Let's see, the whole thing is about 5.75. So you're going to need to take 1/4 off of each side. Okay, I'm going to do this one down here and use the 1/4 mark. Okay. So I pre-cut this. Oh, that's too small. Okay, do 1/8 off each side. What did that end up being? Oh, 5 1/4. Duh. Okay, so you want this to be not quite this small, but we're going to adjust. And I'm going to get another piece of my Gorgeous Grape. And we're going to trim this to be 3/8, 5 3/8. Let's see, that's 1/4. Yeah, I'm still going to do 3/8. And then I'm going to take this and measure it. So it's 3 1/4. I'm going to do 3. I'm trying to do it different than I did the original one. So the original one, I'll show you what I did. I just kind of eyeballed about 1/8 of an inch border. Actually, I turned it over and I traced it. But I thought I would try just to make it the length I wanted it at first. And then just trace then. Okay, let's leave about that much border. What does that make it? Okay. That makes it actually 7/16. Let's see how that looks. That looks really well. Okay, now you can eyeball and cut this, but I wanted to show you what I did. This is the back of the cardstock. You may say there's not really a different side. I can see a little bit of difference in the front and the back. So I'm going to put that there, turn it over, and get a pencil and just trace along. Now I don't really want it to go quite as deep there, so I didn't trim that. So I don't know if you can see my pencil line, and I'm just going to fussy cut around that. And I think I should have moved it a little bit. What do you think? Well, I'm doing grand on this alternate, aren't I? I'm gonna have to do that again. So it shows you that we can all mess up. Let me see if this is still big enough now. No, it's not. All right, one more time. The third time will be a charm. Be kind. Don't leave a bad comment because I have to do this again. All right, so that was 3, and you gotta laugh at yourself sometimes. Nope. 3 1/4, 3 1/8. Oh, 7. Okay. I know what I did wrong. So I want the top to be the border. I don't want to cut more around it. You learn something, so I like to do this because it helps in the video. Okay, I need to trim this a little bit. 5 3/8. I have another trimmer over here. I'll just use it. 5 3/8. Maybe I'll blame it on COVID fuzzy brain. Okay, so I want this to be the border. So I don't want to trim that. So when I flip it over and stick this, I'm going to stick it all the way to the top. And get this centered. So I don't want to trim the top part of the gorgeous grape. That's what I was trying to do. All right, so then we just have to trim just a little bit. Okay, that may not be as smooth. Just smooth that rough edge out a little bit. Okay, so there we have that. Now I am going to snip that, just hand do it. Just to round that corner so it's not quite so sharp. Okay, now back to the card. So we need our card base. Let me clean up my area a little bit. I have so many things out after messing up. Now, I didn't put any of the stamped bees. I used one from the kit. So let me glue this onto the purple. You could probably get that wet and it would stick, but I'm just going to go ahead and use my Tombow liquid glue. So sorry about the messing up. I try to do it differently. I'm thinking the other way would work better. Just to trace the whole thing, make it a little bigger. But that looks pretty good. All right, so, and then while I'm thinking about it, don't forget to stamp your envelopes with a cute little sunflower. Let me grab a base. I know I have some. Okay, I thought I stuck one in the this envelope, but I couldn't find it. So here's just a plain base, and I'm going to feel to see that one feels just a hair bigger. Okay, so I obviously have the wrong one. Here it is. I did have a base, but I didn't want that to be just white. So I took some Mossy Meadow. Now this one I did with a retired Meadows die, but I like to try to use current stuff in case you like this idea and want to replicate it. So see, this one was the Meadows die, and I just embossed it along the side. It's about a 1 3/8 piece of Mossy Meadow, but this one I used the new Falling, the Leaf Fall. It's new in the holiday catalog. So when I emboss this, I just did it along the sideways like this because they are kind of like falling leaves. There's nothing to emboss on this side and just the leaves here. So I turned my cardstock that way. And I like how deep the impression of the leaves are. Hope that shows up. So I'm going to stick this under here and kind of eyeball how it looks. Now my previous one was just a hair bigger, so I had to trim off the green, but I think this one's going to be perfect. Tombow liquid glue again. I'll put this along the side. And again, it's 5 3/8 inches long and about 1 3/8 inches wide. Just going to eyeball an equal border, top and side. Whoops. Let it dry. I can let it dry while I put adhesive on this. And this was Gorgeous Grape. I think I said that. Okay. So how do you like that difference so far? I think that really brings out the purple flowers there. So then I have my the hive gold part. So this is a little fussy, but I really like the I don't know, not symmetrical cut, kind of an odd. So I actually took this on the white side, and I took my pencil and I just kind of marked the areas where they cut. But I'm not going to do that because it's going to take too long. I'm going to do my best to be not sporadic, to make it just look, I did pretty good. All right, so that's going to go there. I'm going to get one of my sunflowers. I'm getting low on my sunflower stash. I can't see it all. There's my, I think I told you all that when I wasn't feeling inspiration at first while I had COVID, I just sat and made a whole bunch of sunflowers. So here they are, and here's some leaves. Neither one of them are colored, so I'm going to show you what I did. Here's my block that still has the crushed curry on it when I was coloring. And here's a block with some mossy meadow. It's obviously going to need more. So let me add some more. I took my big pad and just did a big thing of crushed curry because I was coloring quite a lot of them. Okay, let me get some piece of scrap paper so in case I make a mess, it goes on that. So I did kind of allocate one watercolor brush to each color. And to reactivate these, I have some alcohol, 91% alcohol, in a spray bottle. So I'm just going to reactivate the crushed curry that's already on my block. It's been sitting there for quite a few days, but it's going to be fine. And I like to use 91% alcohol because it dries quick. And then I can use it on just regular white cardstock, not the thick or the watercolor paper. So give me just a second to color some sunflowers. Because I'm going to have to go tonight. I'll probably sit, or tomorrow, not tonight. I just spend the evenings with my family. And for those wondering, my husband is doing much better. He's just kind of like me, still has some congestion. And my daughter has stayed away from us, so she so far has not been positive. All right, just kind of wipe that off. And then I have, this one looks like suede. I have a little bit of suede here. I'm going to see if my brush is wet enough to pick that up. Soft suede that came in your kit. All right. Where's my lovely napkin? And then I need green to do my leaves. Did you see that? I don't know. Was that separated from the color, or did I have red on that? I'm going to start over. It is interesting when you get some of these inks wet, the different colors that make up that color come out. See if that one's almost empty. Nope, not water. I want alcohol. Let's see if it does it. The red comes out. I can see a little bit of red that comes out in that. It's interesting. should have got a finer watercolor, but there's only one fine one in set. Probably should have used that on this and this one on the yellow. Okay, and I stamped these in Evening Evergreen to start with. And I'm coloring in Mossy Meadow. Okay, I like that. Let me set these away so they don't get out. See the red coming out in the green? Even after I clean that? I don't know if you can see that. That was interesting. That's your little fun fact for your video. That's a saying my daughter always uses. Like, I have a fun fact for you, Mom. All right, so we have our gold. I need the bee. I'm going to search in here for my little die cut piece. Come on, bee. All right, I'll just go ahead without the bee and we'll add him later. So I do want to put these on flat. And in the other ones, I've added the little sprig stamp that comes, but I think this one's busy enough. It doesn't need any additional stamping. This is still just a little bit wet, but we're going to see how it goes. All right, side to side. And then when I put this on, I'm going to want to make sure I get a dimensional on the gold. So I'm going to use my Take Your Pick tool and get half of one and make sure I get the gold to hold it down. And then I can put my big one in the center. Oh, sorry, I wasn't on camera. Put my big dimensional in the center of the sunflower, and because it's a little wet, it's not wanting to stick, but I'm going to peel it gently and it will dry. So now when you go to cover it up, you can just make sure your sunflower covers up that one dimensional that's holding down your gold piece. Okay, and then I'll do the same thing when I find my bees to hold it down as well. It's going to look real quick. I have all these envelopes of goods, and I guess I did too many. Here's the original labels that came with it and my stamp set, but no bee. So add the bee later. And our final thing is to put on our sentiment, your sentiment of choice. I need to cut some more of these in half. And I just put 2 long ways. Okay, and I think there will work. You know what? So I'm going to take that off real quick. So I added another die cut from my Honeybee Blooms set right here to give it just a little more more flowers there. So that's optional if you want to do that. I'm going to leave my sentiment off for now. Let me put the backing back on. So a lot of you may not have that, so I thought I would show what it looks like without that extra flower. I think it actually brings life to the sentiment down here because we have so much going on up here with the flower, the honeycomb, and the bee that it needed a little something else. So I will die cut and add this later. Now you can color it with whatever you have. I have some blends and I use a Mossy Meadow dark color, and then I didn't use Blackberry. I actually used the dark Highland Heather because there's not a Gorgeous Grape blends, and I wanted it to be a purple color, and I thought it matched really well. That matched that up there pretty good. So if you wanted to add some more red, you could color them red, and then you'd have more of the Poppy Parade color. So those are just some ideas to make yours different. So this is my alternates for this time. Thank you for being patient with me. Sorry, I was trying to come up with an easier way to cut the grape, and it actually ended up more difficult. So that's a good learning opportunity for the rest of you. When we go to do this, we will just cut it a little bigger and trace like I did, but my paper wasn't big enough when I cut it. I guess I could have trimmed off a little bit of the envelope and that would have worked too. So maybe that's what I'll use this piece that I messed up for. So it's these two alternates. They use one envelope, and I did them in different colors so you could see how it gives them a different look. So these are the two done in Poppy Parade, and these two were done in Gorgeous Grape. Both with Mossy Meadow here on this side, and this again was just a full panel, so I didn't use multiple colors. So let me know what you think. So again, so sorry about all the mess ups, and I will do better next time. So thanks for joining me today. Have a great day. I still have some more envelopes to work with, and we'll see if I come up with anything different. I will be sharing them on my channel. So be sure to subscribe, and you can ring the bell for notifications of when I post my next video. Have a great evening.